But on the population growth side, 20 to 29-year-olds are usually prime rental. And we're going to have an increase in population of 6.5%, where the Greater Golden Horseshoe is looking at 0. And then if you look at 30 to 39, which given the cost of housing and people just choosing to rent because of the cost of housing, we're having 35.3% versus 21.6.
I really don't think you can discount the psychological effect of being uncertain in a market. Like, I think that there's a lot of people that would choose, just based on how they feel about security right now, they would choose to rent and wait and sit on potential cash that they even have.
We've dealt with several people recently, exactly what you're saying, that are prime candidates to buy a house, but are not a fan of the housing market as it stands. So they are in very nice condo type rentals, or like fully renovated, beautiful. They have great income. They are fully set to buy a house. They just don't want to yet.
Welcome back to the Canadian Real Estate Channel. I'm Adam JD Martin. I'm going to be hosting you guys today. And today we have Agent Kayla here from Niagara Region. So we're going to get the update for November, what's going on in November, and what we can expect to see moving into the future. So Agent Kayla, what's going on?
Not much. Excited to go through everything with you. And thank you for explaining that even though it's in December, it is all the stuff that happened in November, although the listings are all up to date. So that's from December.
Awesome.
So jumping in, residential market, this is just the Niagara. I stuck away from Hamilton this time, but I wanted to point out two kind of interesting things that happened here. So month's supply of homes for sale, this went down, which we expect because people don't list their houses or don't like to list their houses at this time of year. So we always see and kind of follow at this time of year, it always drops even when things were crazy. But what doesn't usually happen, except during COVID craziness, is this little guy. So we actually saw an uptick in median sales price for the month of November, which was interesting but nice update. As you can see, we've been on a pretty steep downward trend for a while. But that little uptick, it worked out to be about $17,500. So not a massive difference when you're purchasing a house, but it's still the market, again, from anecdotal evidence of our own listings and our buyers, as well as obviously these stats, it does seem to be picking up just a touch.
Awesome.
So
yeah, that's great. And I mean, like, it, you know, at the end of the day, we are talking about relatively large numbers. Like adding 17,000 to 600 is not a massive delta, but I mean, when we're talking about affordability, like that is like $100, maybe $200 possibly of difference in your total cost when you're trying to service that debt. So that could make a difference for some people, for sure.
Yeah, definitely something to keep in mind. And also they held rates today, so it'll be interesting to see how that affects. I mean, this time of year gets obviously quite slow. No one wants to list their house during Christmas if it's a primary residence or have people going through it. So I'll be interested to see what the December stats look like, but that was a bit of an outlier. This is still the residential market for the last 10 years. So I thought that this was kind of interesting just to show, you know, why this might be, again, the opportunity for the buyers, despite that slight increase in price. So this one on this side is active listings. This is the month of November only in the Niagara region. So that black line is the 10-year average. And you can see that this year is the highest year out of the last 10 years of active listings in the Niagara region. So much inventory.
Yeah.
So again, outliers, those two, that was COVID also here, but Niagara tends to hold a relatively high amount of active listings in general, but this is the highest in the last 10 years. And on the flip side, we're seeing the lowest sales activity. It inched a little higher than last year, but one of the lowest years over the last 10 years. So we have the highest number of listings and some of the lowest number of sales. So there's a lot of inventory sitting on the market, a lot of opportunity for buyers. Every single deal that we've negotiated recently has had conditions in it, and not just like your inspection and your financing, which we're almost guaranteeing is coming in with most offers, but sale of property conditions are quite common now. As well as long due diligence periods. There's a lot of opportunity. I said this in the for last month, I'll probably say it next month. It's just, if you are someone that is more comfortable with a lot of time, now is your time to, maybe not like right this second, but while the market is in the state that it's in, there is a lot of time.
Yeah, that's great. And you know, there are some other strategies, and we've actually shot a video for the channel that'll be coming out in 2024 regarding like a reverse offer circumstances and other strategies that you can use to try and increase the likelihood of getting your sale if you're on the sell side right now. So obviously there's a lot of advantages to being a buyer right now, and flexibility in terms of what conditions you can be asking for, but you're not out of tools. And working with someone like Kayla here, you could leverage strategies like reverse offers, where you're actually increasing your chances of selling on this type of a market as well. So, you know, I mean, it's great to talk about all of this, and for sure it's a great time to be buying. And just before we started recording this video, you were sharing some recent successes, and even from my own personal experience, like I just had a property list that got way more attention than I was expecting. A lot of walkthroughs. It actually got 3 registered offers, and we went with 1 conditional offer that was just financing and inspection, which honestly, that's pretty much par for the course. If you're going to be buying an asset over $500,000, it makes sense to be looking for that type of thing. So I got a lot more confident in the last little while than I have been in a while, but I don't think we can ignore either the fact that you've got more listings here than you have in a very long time, the highest over the 10-year average than you've seen in the last 10.
Yes.
And also at the same time where sales activity is down. I mean, that's going to naturally want to decrease. Like, it's going to put downward pressure on price typically. So,
yeah, absolutely.
But it's one thing if we expect that, if we know that.
Yeah. And to your point about the reverse offers, we were just talking about this. Like, it's the first time you would see an irrevocable from a seller on the first go in a very long time. So irrevocable just means who has the time and how much time they are giving. And yeah, it's a very interesting thing when it's seller first.
It is interesting, but damn, is it an effective strategy if you need to sell your property? I mean, it creates the space for your potential buyer to start the conversation and potentially tell you what it is that's actually holding them back on that property, and not just say like, oh, it's too expensive, or oh, it's this or that, right? It's putting a set of price and terms in front of them and giving them the opportunity to counter you or to have a further discussion about what they would love to see as improvements.
Yes, totally agree. That is an interesting one. Commercial market. We talked about this a bit last time. This is taken from CoStar, but I just wanted to, so the submarket would be the Niagara submarket. The market is the Greater Golden Horseshoe. So basically all of Niagara through Hamilton up to Kitchener, up to Barrie, and a little bit further, but excluding the GTA. So the vacancy rate has gone up a slight bit, but 1.9% across the Niagara submarket. I'm very comfortable with that. Keep in mind the Niagara submarket is small, and this is based off of the units in CoStar. So when you see vacant units and it says 10, it's not actually 10. There's a ton of vacant units in Niagara. This is just speaking to what's listed there. The more interesting thing, I think, is the market asking rent and the market effective rent. So one of the questions that we get asked very often, especially because we have a lot of GTA buyers, is how is the rent comparing to, those different areas that would be included in this market. So Kitchener, Waterloo, Barrie, and again, all up through there. You can see that it's really, it is a difference for sure. So effective rent, $1,629 in Niagara, $1,866 in the market. But if you look at the difference in housing cost in some of these areas, it's offset by that. So something to keep in mind. And then it just gives you the average asking rents for across the board. The one interesting thing that I found with this is that the bachelor asking rent in Niagara is actually higher than in the Greater Golden Horseshoe. I don't know if it's because we have more, or maybe they're more sought after, just like from an economic standpoint, but those are just an insight into rents. But on the population growth side, so it's the same market versus sub-market. And I'm looking at this from a rental perspective. So focusing on this population growth 5 years, 20 to 29. Who is going to need to rent in the next XYZ time? Probably the people that can't afford housing, because some people just can't, and obviously the housing market that's a whole other conversation. However, 20 to 29-year-olds are usually prime rental, and we're going to have an increase in population of 6.5%, where the Greater Golden Horseshoe is looking at 0.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, and then if you look at 30 to 39, which given the cost of housing and people just choosing to rent because of the cost of housing, we're having 35.3% versus 21.6.
I really don't think you can discount the psychological effect of being uncertain in a market. Like, I think that there's a lot of people that would choose, just based on how they feel about security right now, they would choose to rent and wait and sit on potential cash that they even have, making them not only a fantastic renter, that's like a perfect candidate for a tenant for yourself as an investor, but they're also they're financially credible people. They're not just coming in out of nowhere. It's like, oh, hey, we're electing to rent right now, and they're increasing that demand, which will continue to will continue to put pressure upward on the actual asking rents.
Yes. So, and these are we've dealt with several people recently, exactly what you're saying, that are prime candidates to buy a house, but are not a fan of the housing market as it stands. So they are in very nice condo type rentals, or fully renovated, beautiful. They have great income. They are fully set to buy a house. They just don't want to yet. And they are falling between this 20 to 39 age group. So I just wanted to show that. And obviously it says 40 to 54, we're losing people. And then 55 plus 7.5 increase versus 9.7. But my focus here, because that's kind of our ideal tenant, is young working professionals or professional students. If we have PhD students, master's students, that type of thing, is them. So just something to keep in mind if you're wondering where the population is going. This is what this program, based off of a ton of information, is saying is going to happen in the Niagara region over the next 5 years.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, vacancy rate is, near 0. I mean, it's fantastic. Rents look super strong, especially compared to, I think the average price point when we looked back there was like $617 in the market, across the whole market. So, you start looking at these rents and start thinking about okay, I'm starting to see how the economics of this works.
Yeah, it's definitely a good outlook for investors with rental properties. Despite all of obviously there's some horror stories about tenants and stuff, but as long as you get yourself some good ones, which we'll get to, I think it's a pretty safe bet. I'm not guaranteeing it, but in our experience, we've had only good tenants so far. I wanted to go through this again. Reason being, we went through these last time, and I've highlighted the ones that have had a price change, which is all of them. But I'm going to just highlight a few of them that I think are, quite good deals. And I'm going to end with McRae, because I think that one is a slam dunk. So we have vendor take back opportunities, assumable mortgage opportunities, Airbnb opportunities. So this is a 2-unit with a large 3-car garage. This one is 4 units. This one is 3 units in Thorold. You can do Airbnb in Thorold. You can do long-term. You can do midterm. There's a lot of different things going on there. 2 vacant units on this one. This one is the perfect house hack opportunity. We're dropping the price today on this. So it hasn't even happened yet. You guys are ahead of the curve. 524.9, 3-bed up, 1-bed in-law down. Great neighborhood in Niagara Falls. Definitely, if you're looking to house hack, this is a good opportunity. And then we have a 3-unit here. This one is in Hamilton, but I'm going to touch on it. This is a fully renovated house with a fully functioning in-law suite for $599. It's been interior, exterior waterproofed. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. Definitely a good opportunity. And in that area, they're building a ton. So there's a lot of opportunity there as well. Another one, fully renovated, back split semi with an in-law, upper 3-bed, lower 2-bed, rented at market rents. And the next opportunity I want to chat about is 4902 McRae Street in Niagara Falls. So this is less than a 15-minute walk from the falls, the casino, Clifton Hill. It is less than a 2-minute drive. 4 parking spots, 2 2-bed units, 2 1-bed units. It's fully vacant. It's fully renovated. It is ready to go. There's an extensive update list beyond just your cosmetic renos. Market rents anywhere from 15 to 17 on the 1-beds, and 18 is what I use when I ran my number on the 2-beds. Lots of opportunity here on the long-term side. There's lots of people doing midterm and Airbnb in the area. Great opportunity in my opinion. Easy, ready to go, set up, get your tenants in there, and you're on your way.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And it looks like the numbers would be really quite nice if you even just got market rents. So that's not really, because when we talk about market rents too, we're not necessarily factoring in the fact that the unit is like nice and renovated, right? Like,
yeah.
Market rent is kind of the whole market. And so we can always assume that if we have a nice unit in a nice area, we get slightly better than what we projected for just broader market rents. So that's great.
And the other thing to note is these are all above grade. So
Awesome.
There's no lower unit, there's no basement unit. These are all above grade. 2 of them have their own laundry. The other 2 share the laundry that are in the basement. So it's ready to go, and it's on a really nice lot too. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention as well. And these are the commercial opportunities. We have the res building lot. It's listed right now, and we're going to be listing the home as well. So if someone's looking to build a super mansion on 2 lots that are beside each other in Camden, which is a lovely little town kind of between Niagara and Hamilton, that will be your chance. But this is also a decent sized lot just to begin with. Services are already there. It's good to go. Division, we've talked about it before. 5,600 square foot mixed use, can be 6 res, 2 commercial, CMHC opportunity if that's what people are after. Indian Valley, if you're familiar with the Mineola area in Mississauga, you know this is like the neighborhood close to the lake. Redevelopment and settled in amongst 5,000 to 10,000 square foot homes. Honestly, even just looking on like Google Maps of this area is insane. And then 7 Iron Street, we've got a 10 unit. If you want more information on the rental income and the expenses, I have it. It has 4 vacant units, and it's across from some major developments in Welland, lots of stuff happening there. And then duplex in Welland, in Huntsville, $799. It's rented out to a very reputable business, ready to go and set up. So those are kind of the opportunities that our team has at the moment. Any questions, or if you're interested in any of them, definitely reach out. We will get you through and get you all the information.
Excellent. Yeah, like even just looking just at a glance here, 7 Iron looks like it's got great opportunity to have good cash flow at the market rents that you've quoted, and a pretty good bedroom mix, I would say, as well. So
yes, that's probably the biggest pull to this building it's a good mix of units in terms of beds. A lot of them have 10 1-beds or something like that, but this one has a good spread, and some of them have been renovated, some of them have some value add potential. So and they've done a lot of pretty deep, big upgrades. All the hydros split. There's a really cool intercom system from your cell phone. Lots of big things there. So if you're interested in any of them, let me know. As promised, last month, I said I would spill all of the secrets to how we screen tenants for ourselves, but also for our clients. Now this may not look like much, but I promise you it is. Once I get into the details, it will, you'll see kind of all that goes into it, but also, what you can be doing when you're screening your tenants to make sure that you are getting the best possible tenants. So, I mean, Adam, you have units too, so you're probably familiar with this. First is your listing. So we try to be as specific with our listings as we can. We get as much information from the landlords as we can, or if I'm listing it for myself for my units, we list it, realtor.ca, which feeds into a bunch of other programs. So we're getting messages from Zillow and all those types of programs. Realtor.ca automatically feeds into all of them. Facebook Marketplace and Realtor.ca are our best means of finding tenants. We get the most from both of those. We're a team, so every single person is posting each list or each listing on their Facebook Marketplace as well. So you're not getting the reach of one, you're getting the reach of 8. Kijiji, we're not finding that to be as effective as of late. I think the Kijiji days have turned into the Facebook Marketplace days, but nonetheless, we're also posting it on our social media, which we have actually gotten tenants from there before. This is your time to set up the services that you require. So we go through a listing and we let our landlords know, okay, you need to do this, 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 and this before it's, ready for rent. Some landlords will go and renovate a whole place, new floor, paint the walls, etc. You don't necessarily need to do that, but cleaning is usually, even if a tenant is the most wonderful tenant in the world and they clean it, there's usually still some cleaning to be done. So at minimum, I would recommend cleaning the unit you've got it listed before you do your showings. Good. The initial screening. You don't want to take through every single person that messages you because you're going to, one, waste a lot of your time and you're going to waste their time because they're not a suitable tenant for you or the person you're screening for. So we are sending out a message, basically, hi, yes, it is available. Thank you for your time. Thank you for reaching out. Can you answer these 5 questions? Why are you moving? What is your credit score? What is your income? How many people are moving in? Do you have pets? We're not opposed to pets in ours. Obviously, there are some landlords that are, but by them being, one, honest upfront about them, great. 2, they're letting you know what type of pets they have, how many they have. And in the bottom, we say, we do work with those that do not have a credit score and people with pets. So don't be discouraged, basically. But we are doing all of that. 1, you're going to weed out a bunch of people because they're not even going to take the time to answer it. 2, the people that do answer it, you're going to be able to make your judgment call for whatever rental you're screening on whether or not it's a good fit for them. And then you can move on to decide if you're going to show them. Good.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Like I actually really appreciate that you're giving them an opportunity to share those things with you, because like most like good tenants are not going to mind. Like they're going to want to tell you about themselves because they're confident in their, let's just say they have a dog or whatever. They're confident that they've trained that dog. They're going to tell you, hey, I have a well-trained dog who's like crate trained or whatever, right? They're not going to try and hide that fact. And again, like, like you said, and I've always been more than welcome of pets in our rentals, but it's like, why not tell me about that? Like, it shouldn't be like a point of conflict, where I do find a lot of beginner investors, they see that as a point of conflict, or it becomes a point of conflict that they didn't expect. And that's never a great way to start the relationship, is like when you first see them and you're like, oh, you've got a dog.
Yeah.
and if you weren't expecting that, like, why not just have it in the initial screening and just, let's just talk about it.
Yes. So, and I mean, I'm an animal lover myself. I have animals. I think I would be a great tenant. I mean, that's basing it off of my house. So just because they have pets doesn't necessarily mean there's no automatic correlation between them being bad tenants. It's not to say that pets can't ruin a house, because they can. But usually if someone's being upfront with them, and it's so funny that you said well-trained dog, because anytime someone answers and they have an animal, they're like, I have a well-trained dog, or I have a cat that only does this, this, and this. So it's kind of funny that you said that. But the people that are worth taking, I shouldn't say that. The people that are interested in enough about going through are going to get back to you. And then the ones that aren't, then you don't have to waste their time or waste your time. Tenant viewing. So this is where the tenant placement process can be very exhausting. So we have this like joke in the office about getting ghosted by tenants. It happens so often. We have a system in place where we send a confirmation email as soon as it's booked. The day of, text and an email goes out to confirm with them. And sometimes even when they confirm, you don't find them there. But when you're doing your tenant walkthroughs, that's a very good chance for you to get a good feel of a person. I'm very big on getting an idea of my tenants when I meet them. Because, so if you're doing it on behalf of someone, if your landlord wants to meet them, we always set that up for them. I get that. But some of the tenants that maybe don't look perfect on paper, once you meet them in person, you're like, okay, they're going to be good tenants. So the tenant viewings, make sure you're walking them through, make sure you're giving them all the information, especially in like the conversion properties. Be very clear about what parking spot do they have, how's the backyard separated, how's hydro work. To protect our landlords, we put a cap on, let's say gas and water aren't split. We put a cap on it that then it's split XYZ throughout the house. We make sure they know that. So it's just or if there's an Airbnb unit in the house, make sure they know that. Make sure your tenants know everything, your potential tenants, so that there's no surprises for either party. And this is also your chance to ask them questions as well.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Like the transparency that needs to happen there needs to be maximum, because there's nothing. First of all, moving sucks. Yeah. And so like when somebody gets there, they're already mildly irritated because they've just had to like move all their stuff. And then if they do find some of these issues that could have been prevented, or at least like challenges that you can overcome in the talking process, like just in the viewing process, it makes it 10 times easier for them to settle in and like for both of you to have a great relationship. And ultimately that's the goal here. If we have a great relationship with our tenants, then they make for a really pleasurable experience as an investor, because like you're busy, you're working on the next deal, or you're working in your job, or you're working on your family or whatever. Like you don't want that call from an angry tenant, and like this can be avoided. So I really appreciate you saying that. And yes, I had like I guess over my career, like I've just not been doing the showing part very well, because I've had like a 50% show rate. But one thing you mentioned, and it's so true, like think about the last time you booked a doctor's appointment. Like, did they just like book it and then you didn't hear from them ever again? It was like, no, they send you an email, they send you a calendar, they send you a call, they send you a text. Like, why would you create these circumstances where you're going to waste a bunch of your time and not just simply follow up with them? Like, it's so much more effective. So
there's no foolproof solution for sure. Like, it's not to say that we're not running into that still, but by putting these little things in place, you can certainly decrease the amount
at least reduce
show up, and they're not.
Yeah, excellent.
That is that. Okay, application. So us as real estate agents have kind of our tenant application. So they're filling that out in its entirety. They're also providing proof of employment and or income. Everyone that looks different for. The credit score. I know there's a ton of people that put a ton of emphasis on this. For us personally, we are looking at it, and it is important, but I'll get to why we don't focus maybe as much as everyone else. Personal rentals. For our landlords, we are following exactly what they want us to do. If there's a minimum credit score for a rental, that's what we're working off of. References. The realtor application form asks for personal references. In my opinion, we don't take as much clout from those. But we do call all work references, and we cross-check them, and we make sure that those people actually work there, and we ask for a letter of employment. So we are making sure that these people work where they say they're going to work, or where they're currently working. If they're in schooling, we ask for proof of enrollment. And if OSAP is a part of their criteria of how they are applying for the unit, we are also asking for proof of that. The reason for their move. So this is, I mean, obviously anyone can lie, but that's really, people aren't usually doing that. But it is always good to know why people are moving, because if we see someone that's applying on November 30th and wants it on December 1st, we're automatically going, okay, hold on. Why are they moving so fast? Oh, it's because they moved out, they're here for a job, they start tomorrow. They just got the job. Those types of, it's very good to know, just so you're not inferring from their move-in date why they're moving.
Yeah.
Don't make assumptions, basically. Number 5, this is how we are confirming everything that people are saying. Single key, it does cost money. We cover it for our landlord clients. If you have to get written approval from the tenants, but potential tenants. But if you run them through single key, if no one has seen a single key report before, I am happy to provide the example that single key gives you. Doesn't have any client information on it. It's just an example, Jane Doe. But it is going to provide you, one, with their credit score. And keep in mind that this might differ than the credit score they give you. They're not necessarily lying. Their credit scores pull from different places, so they can sometimes be a little bit different. It's telling you all of the credit lines they have. It's telling you their late payments, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. It's telling you where they work, not always up to date, so keep that in mind. Where they currently live, same caveat. It's doing a criminal background check. It is covering a lot of stuff. And it's so worth it, and it works out. It's like $24.99 plus tax. You can run it for everyone. Each one costs $24.99, but nonetheless, we have found that this has been a game changer, especially in our offerings to landlords, because we're covering this. We're making sure, and if it doesn't work out on the next one, it's the same thing. If it doesn't work out because the landlord doesn't want to approve it based off of that, we are also providing it to the tenant if they want it. It can be a tool for them. We've already paid for it. It can be a tool for them to apply to the next one. Also, Canley and Open Room, throw their names in there, make sure that there's no current LTV cases or that no other landlord has reported them for XYZ. Just make sure that you're doing your due diligence, basically. And this is how you can do it. And there's no method is foolproof, but this is very, very close.
Well, I mean, if you think about what it took to get to the point of having it rent ready, we're talking about, if we use your average market price, you just spent $617,000 to purchase the asset. You've then renovated it to bring it up to a fantastic condition so that you're getting great tenants. You've had the operating cost, the holding cost, the financing cost, the closing cost, the land transfer taxes, the realtor fees. You've done a lot to get to this point. $24.99 to have a little bit more security in terms of who you're going to allow to be the real engine behind your investment. Like, you know, that's obviously worth it. And we're doing this at a point where we've already had the initial screening. We've already done the tenant viewings and decided we want to continue talking to them. And now we're at the point of application. So, you know, we're pretty far down the funnel here now.
Yes. When you're here, I would say 75% of the time you're there. The only time is, again, that tenant ghost story. Every so often you will have tenants that will be continuing to look throughout the process, and they may find something that's more suitable to them even after you run single key. There are ways to avoid this. You can make your lease agreement. You could do it as step 5 and do single key as step 6, and just make your lease agreement conditional on single key coming back and confirming all the details that they have provided you, in the landlord's sole and absolute discretion.
Nice.
So the lease would come after this. Now, for context, our Schedule A on our lease is about 5 pages. It is very long.
That's long.
But it is protecting everyone front to back. We are writing that. We are making sure everything's in there. We're changing what needs to be changed for each unit or each house or whatever it is. But it is long. But it is long because it's protecting the tenant and it's protecting the landlord. It's lining out every possible scenario. Once you've done that, you're at your tenant walkthrough. So this is once the lease is signed, you're walking your tenant through prior to it closing. If the tenant can't be there, that's okay. You're going through it. Well, sorry, we're going through it. This is our process. You don't have to follow it, but we're going through it. We're documenting any damages or, wear and tear on the unit prior to move-in for the tenant. So we are taking a video of everything, and we're keeping it in our database in case the landlord needs it. For their records, for an unfortunate LTV thing, we're keeping it on file. We always have them. We're testing the appliances to make sure that the landlords are aware of anything that's not working, and if something isn't working, to make sure it gets fixed. The other thing that we're using this as is just making sure the lockbox, or if you're giving them a lockbox code when the tenant's moving in, making sure that we have the right code. We're making sure that nothing's changed. We're just making sure that it is completely ready for the tenant, but also that the landlords are aware of any wear and tear that existed previous to the tenant. This is, again, for the benefit of the tenant and the landlord. In many cases, when a realtor is doing it, we're representing both sides. Not always. If we're not representing the tenant, we're offering this to the other realtor, and we're still going through to take this video. It's part of our system. When you enter in the paperwork, sends tasks to the agents, and this is one of the tasks, is go do your walkthrough video on a specific date. When your tenants move in, we're making sure they know when garbage day is. We're making sure that they know that they can take their lease agreement to get recycling bins and a green bin if they want them. And just making sure, again, that they're all settled on the day of, that they have all the information they need. We always check in to make sure everything went okay. And it's just starting that relationship off on a good foot, just so that that's how it continues.
Yeah, that's great.
That's it. And it is a lot, but it is so worth it. And any, like, realtors do leases, not all of them, but most. It is 1 month's rent plus HST. It comes out at first and last. This is something you can do on your own, but if you don't, and if you do, this is how we do it. And if you don't, talk to your real estate agent, or if you're Niagara, call us. We're happy to help. But I just wanted to let everyone know, this is how we personally have 100% success rate with our tenants.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like, I've actually been very lucky with tenants so far, but I know a lot of people that haven't been as lucky with tenants. And I think some of the things that are included in this presentation that maybe some people have overlooked is, like, man, that tenant viewing is so important, that you attend it. Like, you have to go get a feeling for who these potential tenants are, what you're feeling like their communication is going to be like with you, how they fit with your desired level of input, I guess is how I would put it. Like, I'm a very passive landlord, where, like, I prefer to do all the work up front and then, like, preferably never talk to them again.
Yeah.
And like, that's just my style. And part of that is understanding, who is this person? Like, what's their likelihood to be sort of a squeaky wheel, and also just being transparent with them about anything that you didn't necessarily perform great on in the unit, right? Because, like, some of my renos just have terrible mistakes in them, and like, yeah, and so, you know, it's just really a matter of communicating that to them. And I'm really happy you mentioned that in here. And I actually never heard of single key, so this has been a valuable presentation even for myself, because I've done the credit check thing, but I've never really done a service that does more than that. So I think that's fantastic, and you can't beat that price. I mean, it's such a small investment in risk mitigation. So it's absolutely great that you mentioned all that.
Yes, this is, like I said, this is how we do it for the landlords. This is also how we're doing it for our tenants. We don't have a ton of tenant turnover, but when we do, this is the process we're following personally, and for landlords always. And it just and for tenants, like, when we're working with tenants, it's basically just the reverse of this. Yep. We're still covering all these things for our tenants, but we're doing it to make sure that they're getting, you know, securing the units that they want. Not everyone asks for single key. We're not pulling it if the landlord's not asking for it, but we are giving all of this information. And I say this with the caveat of, there's no 100% foolproof process. You can have the best tenant in the world upon placement, and life changes, and it, you know, it goes down the sour road. But if you're, like, put in all of this work to avoid that as much as possible. And like I said, for most people, this should do it, but the caveat of, it might not, but it should. And it's long and it's cumbersome, but it is so, so worth it. And single key has been, like I said, a game changer for us. And not many people have heard of it. It was something that came through from another realtor that I was working with a while back, and we haven't used anything else since.
Awesome. Well, there you have it, guys. That's Agent Kayla from the Niagara region, and I really appreciate everything that you brought for us for this presentation. Like, just seeing the market stats is very helpful to understand that it's probably more of a buyer's market that we're entering here in Niagara region, and just to understand what that means for our strategy. And I hope that watching at home, you understand you can reach out now to Agent Kayla here and just have the conversation, right? Because we have strategies, we have things available to us that you might not be thinking about. Things like the reverse offer, things like this tenant screening process that can just help your business improve. And ultimately, what we're looking to do here is create more efficiency for you and create a process that's going to allow you to be more profitable. And I think that this presentation hit on a bunch of reasons how and why we can do that with Kayla. So I appreciate you coming on today.
Appreciate being here. Hope it was helpful for everyone. And if you have any questions about any of it, all my contact information is here and below.
Awesome. Well, if you haven't already, subscribe to the video and leave us some comments. We're striving to be more of a community outreach platform here with the Canadian Real Estate Channel. We would like to see discussions started, and any questions that you have, it's almost certain other people in the market have those same questions. So start a discussion down here below in the comments. I'm going to personally respond to as many of them as I can. And we're going to start the discussion here and hopefully get everyone's questions solved so we can all make more money. and have a better time. So thank you again, Kayla, and we'll see you guys on the next video.